Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Friday. Old habits, they die pretty quickly. Jacob Beck, Cassie Pizzali back there on the ones and twos. Fired up, you're here with us on this Football Friday. Again, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Lots to do here on this Friday. We'll get to Preston Guy here in 15 minutes. Chat with him about all things LSU football as the Tigers and Gamecocks set to kick it off tomorrow night in Tiger Stadium. Saints and Patriots. We'll get you ready and a pick for that one. Get you set for the NFL schedule on Sunday. Talk SEC point spreads an hour from now. So plenty to do. Appreciate you making us part of your day on this gorgeous Friday here in the capital city. Let's crank it up the way we do every day with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's opening drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
LSU and South Carolina, both teams coming off of a bye week in this one. Kickoff just after 6:45 in Tiger Stadium tomorrow night. And I think as I was just contemplating this game, actually driving into work today, kind of thinking about angles to explore on the show, it kind of dawned on me that there are two discussions to have here. There's this game Saturday, and then there's the season as a whole, right? And this game, as I talked about yesterday, is massively important to LSU's season. If you lose to South Carolina, your dreams are cooked. Not literally, but what other conclusion can you draw? If you can't beat South Carolina at home, you're not going to Tuscaloosa and winning, and going to Norman and winning, and beating Texas A&M in Tiger Stadium, and going to Nashville and winning. Like, you're not going to run the table if you can't beat South Carolina at home. So for all intents and purposes, like, you're playing for your season in this game. It's massively impactful. But there's another way to frame this conversation. It's like, okay, what do you need to do to get better this season and accomplish your goals? And that a lot of it revolves around the offense. And then there's what do you need to do to beat South Carolina and just make sure that happens. And my confidence level in LSU discovering this new gear on offense, discovering how to be a much more functional running team, not dominant, but much more functional. Like, my confidence they're going to do that moving forward is really, really low. It just is. If they had shown the ability throughout a season to get better running the ball the last couple of years, I might lean on that. They have not. This is who they've been for 3 years now. So my confidence level that that's going to take off is just not real high. My confidence level that LSU is going to play well on defense and do enough to beat South Carolina in this one game that is not a forecast for the season is very high. Here's why. South Carolina's offense stinks. Stinks. And this plays right into LSU's hands. Clemson's offense stinks. LSU put them in a blender. Florida's offense stinks. LSU put them in a blender. South Carolina's offense stinks. And LSU's going to put them in a blender. This defense in that stadium is a hard assignment for anyone. For South Carolina and what they have done thus far in September, almost impossible. I was looking at the stat sheet this morning, and I'm looking at what South Carolina has done this year. It's pedestrian stuff. They ran it 37 times for $119 against Virginia Tech. That's pedestrian stuff against a bad Virginia Tech team. They threw it for 209 in that game. Completed 12 passes. Not great. You look at the game against South Carolina State, they didn't have any offensive points until late in the first half against an FCS team. Against Vanderbilt, I know there's a caveat there. Absolutely. Sellers going out is a big deal. But they ran the ball for 86 yards in that game. 29 carries for 86 yards on Vanderbilt. You think that's bad on the ground? How about the next week against Missouri on the road? Sellers played in that game. They ran it 22 times. You want to guess how many yards they ran for in that game? There's sacks involved. -9. I'm less concerned with the -9 because there are sacks involved in that. And Missouri got after Lenore Sellers and had a big red zone sack and what. But their long on 22 carries on the ground against Missouri was 7. 7 yards was their long in that game. Yeah, they ran it for 178 yards against Kentucky, who's atrocious. Took them 48 carries to do that, and they only threw it for 163 in that game. How many did they throw for against South Carolina State, a MEAC school? How many yards did they throw for? 128 yards. If this were one game here or there, I would call it a one-off. It's every week. There is one number on this stat sheet that is even remotely impressive, and it's the fact that they ran for 302 yards. That they threw for 302 yards against Missouri. That's the only number that's impressive. And they had some big plays in that game. And we talked about big plays early in the week. That is South Carolina's only chance. Because on a play-in and play-out basis in this game, LSU's defense is going to beat South Carolina's offense. South Carolina's offense has 3 offensive linemen that are not in good shape. They're probably not going to play in this game. They're looking for any running back to give them anything. They can't replace Rocket Sanders, and they haven't gotten that. They're the worst running offense in the SEC. And, oh, by the way, LSU is in that conference, and they're worse than LSU at running the ball. They've got a quarterback who is kind of limited in what he can operate. Like, he's not limited physically. He is a freak. He's really exciting to watch, quite honestly. But they kind of roll him out a little bit and get the ball on the perimeter. They will hit some big shots here or there, but he's not running enough. They're getting sacked a bunch. There's just not a lot to like about this South Carolina offense across the board. They're not good on the offensive front. They don't have playmakers at running back. They don't have a lot of playmakers at wide receiver. Nick Harbor's the one guy, and he's not been as productive as you thought he would probably be when he got to Columbia. And this is an LSU defense that is damn good. The vibes in this town have not been great for 2 weeks, grant you that. You go to Ole Miss, lose. Running game doesn't look very good. Quarterback kind of looks hurt. You give up 80 plays, and Ole Miss kind of beats you up. Like, that's a tough ego blow. So the vibes have not been great. The defense is still awesome. We don't talk about it. Everyone wants to talk about the running game, want to talk about the offense, want to talk about the quarterback, want to talk about all that kind of stuff. And that's relevant conversation. We're not shying away from that. And that is a conversation for the entirety of the season. But if you're just talking about Saturday night, if you're just talking about this game with South Carolina, this matchup is great for LSU. That stadium is going to be loud. That team's going to be fired up. They're going to be fresh. And as we talked about earlier in the week, if LSU's defensive backs plaster to those receivers, especially on extended plays, and LSU doesn't get over-aggressive on their pass rush to create running lanes for Sellers, South Carolina is not play in and play out going to consistently win against that defense. They're just not. The only defense they have consistently won against is Kentucky, and Kentucky's program is in freefall. So you want to talk to me about making the playoff? You want to talk to me about competing for the Southeastern Conference? You want to talk to me about going to Tuscaloosa and winning or going to Norman and winning? We can have that conversation, and my confidence level is not super high on that. That's part of the vibes not being great in Baton Rouge right now. You want to talk to me about Saturday night? My confidence, real high. Because that defense has done nothing through 5 weeks of this season to suggest they're not going to come out and play a great football game on Saturday night. You should win consistently at the point of attack, shutting down South Carolina's putrid running game. That's going to put South Carolina in a lot of third and longs. And Lenore Sellers has been sacked a lot this year and has not been efficient throwing the ball in the short and intermediate passing game. He's just better with the deep shots. And they've hit some of those. You look at their long passing plays, 64 against Virginia Tech, 49 against Missouri, 59 against Kentucky. They've hit some plays down the field. They can do that. I don't think they've played a secondary that's as good as LSU's yet. In the bye week, I gave you the Pro Football Focus grades about LSU's corners, about their safeties, about the coverage skills. Those grades are really, really, really good. And they've played, LSU has, a quarterback in Cade Klubnik that's kind of similar in style to a degree to Sellers. It's not the same. I'm not saying they're clones, but they're good athletes. They can extend plays. They want to use their feet a little bit. They're veterans, and they've got enough arm strength to hurt you. And Klubnik couldn't find anywhere to go on his home field, and I don't think Lenore Sellers is going to find anywhere to go on Saturday night. So my pick for this game is going to come at the end of the show. It's becoming pretty evident where we feel on that, and I got to talk about LSU's offense as we move forward. But if we're just sitting here on this Friday talking about LSU and South Carolina, this matchup is great because it is hard for me. Save some bad turnovers by the LSU offense or big plays on broken plays by Lenore Sellers and the South Carolina offense. Save that. It is hard for me to get South Carolina to 20 points. It just is. Now, I'm not here to tell you I think LSU is going to score 40, and we're going to talk about the LSU offense as we move forward. But as I told you as I was driving today, like, what do we want to talk about this game? We're just talking this game. I like it. LSU's got big problems on offense right now. But you look at that injury report, Caden Durham's on it, Paul Mabenga's on it, Aaron Anderson's on it. Those are offensive guys. LSU's defense, save Gabe Relaford, and you got a probable on Ahmad Bro. You're healthy, you're rested, and more importantly, you're really good. And LSU's going to come out, I think, tomorrow and play great defense for 4 quarters, and they are going to make life really, really difficult on Lenore Sellers and this South Carolina offense that really has found no traction all year long, save a couple of big plays in the passing game against Missouri and running the ball decently well against Kentucky, and that ain't Kentucky in that stadium down the street. So I like LSU in the game coming up on Saturday. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we continue to churn through this Football Friday. We're brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Want to remind you, if you're headed out to tailgate at Tiger Stadium this weekend, looking to feed a whole crew, Cork's is happy to help you with that tailgate load. You can get those big trays, the crispy fried catfish, jumbo Gulf shrimp, crispy shoestring fries, all the sauces your heart desires. They got your tartar and your cocktail. Also got Cork sauce, my personal favorite. Get a bulk order, whether it's a tailgate or a watch party at the house. Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. It's online at corksfishandshrimp.com. We'll take a timeout, come back with Preston Guy. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is the website. Every car that's on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. It's a luxury brand at a reasonable price. If you're looking for a vehicle to go on that fall road trip, I know there are a lot of fall breaks that are going on right now. I know that there are some road trips coming up for LSU football games, whether it's Nashville, Tuscaloosa, maybe going to Norman for the first time during the holidays. Maybe you're just driving for the holidays. If you want to rent a vehicle and not put those miles on your vehicle, Genesis is happy to do some rentals for you. You can get behind the wheel. Their sedans, you can get behind the wheel of their SUVs. It'll be probably your first time behind the wheel of Genesis. You'll feel that difference. It's a phenomenal line of vehicles, and all of them an IHA top safety pick, one of the safest cars on the road. If you're looking for a rental or a new vehicle, Genesis of Baton Rouge, they're on airline at PQ or online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com, GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Friday here in the capital city. Gorgeous day. A little warm for the middle of October, but I promise I'm not going to complain about that. No big deal. It's gorgeous out. Hope you're off work. If that's not the case, we'll get you to the finish line here on 104.5 ESPN. Baton Rouge Tigers and Gamecocks tomorrow just after 6:45. I think official kick time right now 6:55 from inside Tiger Stadium. One guy that will be there is Preston Guy. You can follow him on Twitter at PGuy77. He's with us on Fridays. Joins us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Preston, how we doing?
Good, man. How's it going?
Going quite well. Let's talk offensive line. Paul Mabenga looks doubtful for this one. And one thing I've actually come to realize is Brian Kelly's really honest about injuries. He tells you about it on Monday. They've been honest on their injury report. And generally speaking, we've seen those results on Saturdays. So it sounds like Mabenga won't play. What does that look like for you up front at right tackle and left guard?
I will go ahead and argue he's very transparent on availability.
Yeah.
I will agree with you on that. But, yeah, no. I would like to see Carius Kern. Whether they go that direction or not, we'll see. But I think he's shown a lot of promise. But he even said on his radio show last night that Carius Kern looks like a guard to him, but he's been playing tackle. So that's who I'd like to see, but we'll see what direction they go.
When you think about Dylan Stewart and his talent on the edge, it's one of the few matchups on the field that I think that South Carolina's got a significant advantage. Does LSU have to change what they do with him lurking on one side of the field?
Yes, and I addressed that on my show this week, actually. And the way I addressed it was very carefully worded, adjust for Dylan Stewart. I don't know that there's anybody on this offensive line who has shown me enough promise to make me think that, yeah, that guy can lock that guy down one-on-one. So I think you have to make adjustments. You have to slide running backs in coverage over there. Maybe you have to adjust your coverage and double-team them, or at least get an extra hand, a chip, to help out with him. So, yeah, no, I just think that you have to accept at this point that the offensive line is what it is, and you kind of have to play around it.
So in playing around it, they're going to try to commit to running the ball a little bit more, and they've got to be more efficient in the passing games. What Brian Kelly said, they did a lot during the off weekend, even though Garrett Nussmeier wasn't practicing. What improvements are you looking for on Saturday night?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I'm going to be looking for Garrett Nussmeier to be able to stretch the field a little bit more. And by stretch the field, I'm not talking about 70-yard bombs, but he's clearly had some consistency issues throwing the ball really more than 15 yards, whether he's injured or hurting, whatever it may be. He doesn't look himself, in my opinion. And I think that they're going to have to make some strong adjustments for that. I believe if you can stretch the field more than 15 yards consistently, that will open some things up. And unlike a power running game and unlike a strong offensive line in general, I think you do have the weapons in place to have a vertical passing attack. I just think Nussmeier hasn't been himself through 5 games, and whatever the cause of that may be, I would like to see that get fixed, because if you do have a vertical passing attack, that impacts your defense.
Brian Kelly talked about maybe tightening the wide receiver rotation earlier this week. What did you make of that?
It's an interesting one, particularly with Aaron Anderson being about 85%, and you might argue, well, that's your go-to guy on third down. I mean, that's your Mr. Reliable. So maybe some of that is you need some of that. But I don't know. I almost think that they really need to get less people involved in this offense and really just focus on a few things that they do well, because they've been focusing on a lot of things that they don't do well through the first 5 games of this season. So it makes me a little nervous, if we're being honest.
Let's talk about the defense. That's a pretty healthy side of the ball. Should be a rested side of the ball. And South Carolina has struggled offensively. I opened the show with that today. Where's your confidence level in the defense on Saturday night?
Oh, fairly confident. Take the under.
Okay.
I think the over-under is, 44.5 for this game?
I haven't looked.
I don't see that. I think South Carolina ranks in almost every offensive category in the bottom 50, if I remember seeing that correctly. I mean, it is atrocious. So I would expect there's nothing about this defense, with the exception of it seems to be their Achilles heel is a mobile quarterback, and you're going to get one heck of a quarterback with mobility this weekend with Lenore Sellers, although he hadn't had the season he was hoping to this year. But, if you can contain Lenore Sellers, I think that you've got a really good chance to keep them. Let's put it like this: keep them under 20 conservatively. I would say if they score 20 based on what they've done and what this defense has done, that would be disappointing.
What's the most important thing to do in terms of containing Lenore Sellers? Is it the pass rush slowing down? Is it a spy? What's the most important aspect of that?
Yeah, I mean, they might need to use a spy. I would also say that playing disciplined ball and making sure those running lanes aren't closing in, maybe square your shoulder up a bit. I mean, a lot of times when you're rushing the passer, you're really aggressive and you're leaning all your weight forward, just trying to get there as fast as you can. Well, a lot of times you're not able to have that, horizontal mobility and shut off the running lane. So I would say a lot of it is disciplined football, and if you can't do that, which a lot of times it's not happening simply because Baker called a overload blitz, and one guy got to him and he shrugs off one tackler, and then boop, there's a wide open lane because you overloaded. I would say do what Blake Baker does, because it's obviously worked very well this season. But if it's really getting to the point where you're getting killed with these lanes, maybe maybe adjust a little bit more zone coverage with a disciplined zone linebacker there, or maybe even use a spy, albeit I don't know if Perkins is the one to do a spy in his current position, but I think just anybody doing that. I would do a wait-and-see approach. And basically, the more success he has, the more conservative I would get with committing to a spy.
Let's play some numbers games here. Over-under on touches for Harlan Berry on Saturday night, 5.
I wish I could say over. But probably under.
Catches for Trey'Dez Green, 4.5.
Man, that's another one I wish I could hit the over on, but I'm going to go under.
Rushing yards for LSU, 105.
I really, really, really wish I could say the over. I will take over on that one, simply because I think the game's going to be – I think the defense is going to take care of business, and they should be up multiple scores late, and they're going to need to, push out some rush yards to kill the clock.
Does that sound like Caden Durham to you? Where's your confidence in him? And like, who's next? If we're under Harlan Berry, is Juwan Johnson next for you?
Yeah, for me or for the coaches, because those are two different answers.
The coaches.
It's probably Caden Durham, then Juwan Johnson, then Harlan Berry for the coaches.
South Carolina point total 14.5.
14.5. I would go under.
Whew, that's not very much. Like, that just feels like a really low number that I just tossed out there. I'm sure Vegas has a real number on that. But I opened my show with the confidence in this defense with a week off in that stadium against an offense that's been so bad. Sounds like you share that, and I just feel like this is a really good matchup for LSU. Is that where you are?
Yeah, I do. I think it's a really good matchup. I think that having a team that struggles to score the ball, that's a good solution for your offense that really needs to put it together. Let that elite defense do its thing. And yeah, I expect Blake Baker to show out this weekend.
Then let's bring it big picture. Where's your confidence in this team as far as to chasing a playoff and those types of things in this offense? Like, where are we entering this game?
Until I see something better, it's pretty rattled.
Yeah,
I don't have much confidence right now. I think unless we see some substantial improvement on offense, I don't think this is a playoff team. I think that I think the team that went to Oxford is an 8-4 team at best. I do believe that we will see some improvement because, football season, there's peaks and troughs of your team just naturally. And that looked a lot like a trough on the offensive side of the ball. So I think they're going to bounce back. I do think Nussmeier, they've admitted he's dealt with some abdominal strain this year, and it looked like it. That's what the film looked like against Ole Miss. I think he's going to improve, and if he doesn't improve, I would like to see them, look to another guy who can stretch the ball 15 yards. I just don't think they're going to go 7 more games without a quarterback who can throw the ball more than 15 yards. I don't. I think that eventually they will find someone who's able to do that, and with that, your offense should only get better.
So what would make you feel better walking out of Tiger Stadium Saturday night? If LSU ran it for 181 and 2 touchdowns, or if Nussmeier threw for 335, 3 scores, and a 65-yard bomb to Chris Hilton? Like, what would make you feel better?
No, Nussmeier. Okay. Nussmeier. But I don't know if that one's particularly close. If you ran the ball super well, to me that just means, okay, they were really bad at stopping the run, and you took advantage of it, or there was a freak one play where a guy busted it 75 yards. If Nussmeier throws it for a bomb like that and 350, that means there's no more health concerns, and we could be looking at 2024 Nussmeier returning.
That would be preferable. Tell everybody where they can find your stuff, what y'all got going on at Tiger Bait this weekend.
Absolutely, guys. Y'all can come check out our post-game show. We'll be trying to go as soon as we can after the game. You can catch us on the Tiger Bait YouTube channel. Make sure to check out all our content. We post everything we do on the Tiger Bait website, so tigerbait.com, and we'll keep you up to date. We'll see you in the press box tomorrow. I'll be the guy in the Cubs hat watching the NLDS while they're playing football in Tiger Stadium, but I'll be there. Oh, man. Focused on the Cubs during a home. This is no comment. I'll just leave it at that. I'll see you there. Have a good weekend, man. All right, hon. See you soon. Preston Guy, TigerBait.com. I'll be invested in the Tigers. I'll have an LSU shirt on. I'll just have a Cubs hat on. I think that's the attire I'm going with. But I will have the laptop fired up. The Cubs start at the same time as LSU, so I got a dual focus on those two things going on. Somebody asked me earlier who I would rather win. I think it's LSU, but it's close. It's interesting because flesh this out with me. If the Cubs lose, their season's over. And just mathematically speaking,
the Dodgers are left, the Cubs are left, the Brewers are left, and in the American League, the Mariners are left. They're playing who? I pay so little attention to the American League.
The Blue Jays?
The Mariners and Blue Jays, and then whoever beat the Yankees. The Blue Jays beat the Yankees.
The Blue Jays
Mariners aren't playing the Blue Jays.
Oh, the
Tigers.
Tigers, yeah.
So Mariners, Tigers, Blue Jays, Cubs. There's 5 teams left.
Yeah.
So those are high stakes. But on the flip side, and if LSU loses, technically all their goals are still on the table. The Cubs would be done if they lost. LSU's goals would still be on the table. But as I mentioned, they're toast if they can't beat South Carolina on their home field. And it feels like this is the year they push their chips in for. Maybe next year with the schedule and the roster is probably not going to be, at this point as I sit here, one that I would consider a championship threat. I could be wrong. They could go nuts in the portal and be awesome next year. It just feels that way. So it feels like a loss on Saturday for LSU might cost them 2 years. And the Cubs will be back next year. The
Cubs might be back next year. I mean, Kyle Tucker may be going. Who knows what's going to happen?
You can't know. The stakes are very high for both. And I think I would take an LSU win and the Cubs would lose. That's probably where my heart is. But it's close because I'm so having fun watching the Cubs right now.
It's great.
So we'll see. I know that probably makes a lot of people, Preston included, very, very upset with me. I'm okay with that. It just is what it is. The heart wants what it wants. So I'll be watching both on Saturday. I'll just be working the LSU game and pulling for the Cubs. So we'll talk a little bit more about LSU as we move forward. But first, let's get you set for the NFL Sunday. That's next on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com, HighlandIG.com. Jonathan Carver and his team based right here in Baton Rouge. Happy to help you with your insurance and your risk management. Look, captives are a big, big deal in the insurance world. If you are a business that spends a significant chunk of change every single year on your insurance premium and you're just looking for a little bit of relief and your broker hasn't showed you a captive option, maybe your broker doesn't have a captive option. Not all of them do. Jonathan Carbo and his team at the Highland Insurance Group, they do. And if you want something different that may be a game changer for your business's bottom line, Highland Insurance Group can show you that captive. Maybe you fit. Maybe it works for you, maybe not, but you won't know until you try. So go through that process with Jonathan Carbo and his team. Just give him a call or reach out online at HighlandIG.com. Say, hey, I'd like to look at this captive deal. Jonathan and his team are happy to sit down with you and discuss it. I spent 7 years in the insurance business. I tell you that all the time. And as I was getting out, I could tell that captives are really taking off, and the Highland Insurance Group can help you with it. Check them out online at HighlandIG.com. That's HighlandIG.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. If you're looking for LSU coverage tomorrow on your game day, we start up at 1:45. It'll be Charles Hanniger and Matt Musso, Eagle 98.1 game day from Rouse's on Burbank. They'll go for 3 hours, 1:45 to 4:45. They'll hand it off to me with the LSU Sports Radio Network. Myself, Brandon Taylor, Marlon Favorite with you from 4:45 until about 6:20 or so. We'll toss it off to the broadcast team inside the stadium, Gordy Rush, Jacob Hester, and the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. They'll have the call of the game 30 minutes after it goes final. Me, Brandon, and Marlon on the postgame show on the network for an hour. 90 minutes after the game goes final, it is Charles Handorf and Richard Dixon right here in the Raising Cane studio. They'll be with you for Eagle 98.1 Game Day's postgame show, taking your phone calls until the wee hours of Sunday morning. So crank us up. 1:45 tomorrow from Rouse's. Eagle 98.1 Game Day starts your day. Then on Sunday, you got Jimmy Ott's Football Sunday. That's from 10 to noon, and that leads right in to a full slate of NFL action, and we'll get you ready for it starting right now. All right, Tier 4, just one awful game on Sunday. You don't have to watch it. Titans at the Raiders. Battle of 1 and 4s. These teams are bad. Cam Ward and Ashton Jeanty may be the two reasons to watch. Jeanty was good against the Bears last week. Cam Ward trying to take some incremental steps there in Tennessee, but these two teams are not good. That's why they're in Tier 4. Tier 3, not great action here. The Bengals are at the Packers. Joe Flacco making a start for the Bengals. He'll be the fourth quarterback to start games for two teams in the same division in one season since 1970's NFL merger. The Broncos are at the Jets. That game's in London. The Jets are 0-5. They are not good at all. Bo Nix only threw for 60 yards last year against the Jets. Something tells me he'll up that total in Sunday's action across the pond. The Chargers are at the Dolphins. Mike McDonald. This is not good. 3-14 against teams with a winning record.
Mike
McDaniel, yeah. We're looking at, no. Is it McDaniel?
The Dolphins head coach?
Yeah, because there's a McDonald in Seattle. There's McDaniel. Okay, got it. There's whatever. The guy that said the Dolphins is not good against winning teams. 3-14. They should be firing him. They may fire him on Monday. We'll see. Let's go with the Browns and the Steelers. You threw me off everything, Beck. The Browns haven't cracked 17 points in their last 10 games. That is awful by NFL standards. Mike Tomlin's Steelers, by the way, 8 straight wins off of a bye. There are so many metrics that prove how good a coach Mike Tomlin is. They're not contending for Super Bowls, but they are never bad. They're never underprepared, and they're really good off a bye week. They probably win this one at home against Cleveland. Cowboys are at the Panthers. Dallas is the only NFL team that is both scoring and allowing 30 points per game. They're not great, but they're a lot of fun to watch. They're the first team to do that through the first month since the Chiefs in 2021. All right, Tier 2. This is the stuff that's a little bit better. The Cardinals are at the Colts. Danny Dimes and the Colts are second in the NFL in scoring. The Cardinals have the best analytical run defense in the NFL, so something's got to give in that one in Indy. The Seahawks are at the Jags. Seattle has won 8 straight true road games. Now they head to Jacksonville. The Jags lead the NFL in takeaways. They're coming off of a big win in prime time. See if they can keep things rolling in the Sunshine State. The Rams are at the Ravens. I know the Ravens are 1-4. That's not generally Tier 2 material. I know Lamar Jackson is not going to play, but still, it is the Ravens. I find them to be compelling anyway. The Rams have been good this year. Matt Stafford leads the NFL in passing. He's held together with duct tape, but he's doing it pretty well. And if he throws for 50 yards on Sunday, which I have a hunch he probably will, he will pass Dan Marino on the all-time passing list. The Ravens have lost 2 straight by 17-plus points. They have not lost 3 straight by 17-plus points since they began the franchise. So they're trying to avoid that. Obviously, that's Tier 2 for you. And then Tier 1, I got 2 of the best games of the weekend here. This is 49ers and Bucks, 4-1 against 4-1. Look, every Bucks game has been decided by 6 points or less. They are winning close games. They've won 4 by 3 or fewer to this point, so they are in some really tight matchups. I would imagine that'll be the same against the 49ers in Tampa on Sunday. And then you got Lions at Chiefs. I know the Chiefs are not off to an awesome start, but they still go in Tier 1 here because they're still relevant. You're talking about a Chiefs team that won so many close games last year. They are 0-3 in one-score games this year. That whole thing is evening out. How about Jared Goff? He's the only quarterback that Patrick Mahomes has faced multiple times and has never beat. It's an interesting trivia question. Jared Goff would be the answer there. That is a look around the National Football League in Week 6.
Very close, but not perfectly timed there.
I got bye weeks. You're starting to get into some significant bye weeks. I got
there were some
games.
There were some other games you didn't mention there.
I don't think so. Were there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
That's
Monday. I never do the Monday game.
Okay, don't do Monday game. Okay. Well, yeah,
Monday.
that's fair. That's fair.
We're going to talk about that game. That's a fascinating game to talk about on Monday because you've got Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. It's also, I've listened to a lot of Chicago radio in the last week. The Bears were off this past weekend, so they have had a lot to kick around with this Commanders game, and they are fixated on that game because of the Hail Mary last year, which a lot of people may have forgotten. But the Commanders came back and beat the Bears in a wild game on a Hail Mary, and it essentially blew up the Bears' season. They were in a good spot right there. Matt Eberflus ended up getting fired. They've been talking about that a good bit when they haven't been locked in on the Cubs baseball. So that'll be a big one on Monday, and I think we'll talk about it on Monday's show. But we still got to talk a lot about the New Orleans Saints and the New England Patriots, which we did not talk about in that segment. So we'll take a timeout, and then we'll come back, and we'll talk Saints and Patriots, including a pick when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Love telling you about my friends at wherever the next live is. Is this my live sheet? There it is. One Bath and Closets. I promise I do love telling you about One Bath and Closets. It just helps when I have the live sheet to know when to do the One Bath read. David Ball and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Look, they don't have to be big, expansive renovations. When you hear that word, you think dollar signs, you think construction equipment. That doesn't have to be the case. Maybe you've got a tub that you never use, whether you just don't take baths or whether it's not functional, it's old and it's ugly, it's an eyesore, and you don't use it. Get rid of it. Take out that tub, put in a gorgeous glass walk-in shower. So many folks have those big 80s and 90s style jacuzzis in their home that they just never use. It's got a lot of space. If you take it out, you got room for a walk-in shower. It can be a total game changer in your bathroom. So call David Duvall, go to onebathandclosets.com, get that free consultation done. Just a conversation. David will tell you what he can do. And those tub-to-shower conversions, I've talked to David, every case is a little bit different, but you're talking about a 3 to 4 day process. That is not super invasive, and it can be, as I said, a complete game changer in your bathroom. So check out my guy, David Duvall at One Bath and Closets. He's online at onebathandclosets.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Football Fridays here, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We are live and local for a long time on Fridays. Start things off at 7 o'clock. It's off the bench from Rouse's. They're with you from 7 to 10 every Friday there on Burbank. Then an hour early, Football Friday edition of Live at Lunch there at Rufino's every Friday from 10 to 1 o'clock. I take the reins from 1 to 3. Matt from 3 to 6. Your general Fridays are Louisiana Prep Preview at 6 o'clock, leading you to Catholic High football at 6:45 with kickoff at 7. I believe Catholic played last night. So every week, a little bit different. But generally speaking, we're with you live and local from 7 a.m. to about 9 p.m. on your Fridays. So appreciate y'all making us part of your Football Fridays. A lot of energy in the town. It's always fun. We were over at Lod Cook for the Football Friday at the Cook with the Alumni Association. Got to sit down with Russell Shepard, Brad Wing, Todd McClure as well. It was a great event over there on campus, and it's a gorgeous day. It's going to be a phenomenal weekend. Very much looking forward to getting into Tiger Stadium. Then on Sunday, we'll cap our Health Louisiana weekend with some Saints. So let's talk Saints and Patriots here. Noon kickoff in the Dome. Point spread, as I'm looking at it right now, New England -3.5 in that game. And this is one, as I talked about yesterday, that you looked at in July, August, camp time, and you're like, okay, that's a spot. You've got that little window, a little pocket where the Giants and Patriots come to the Dome. That can be a spot where you can kind of get your season on track. You knew things could get bumpy early for sure. Probably not going to be a favorite against the Cardinals. San Francisco going to come in there with a really good roster. Then you got to go on the road. Seattle, you got to go to Buffalo. Like, that's going to be bumpy, but you get the Giants and you get the Patriots. And the Saints whipped the Giants last weekend. I mean, the defense just was everywhere, getting turnovers. They ran the ball pretty well. Rattler finally hit the deep ball. Like, they played as good a game as they had played all year, and they took control of that game and beat the Giants, who, look, the Giants played great last night. So that's a nice win, and you thought this was going to be kind of another edition of that. And it's not. This Patriots team is better than those Giants. Drake May has really built on the finish to last year and has been really strong this year. And so they got a big upset road win last weekend. They got to hit the road again. And this is a Patriots franchise that's really hit reset and done a very nice job. It's a lot of folks are programmed, I would say, to just default to the Patriots have always been great because they were great for so long. But when Brady left and then Belichick at the end there, like, that thing fell off a cliff. You'll remember that Saints team that went up to Foxborough a couple years ago, and I mean just annihilated New England. They were rock bottom. But they got the coach in place, and Vrabel's doing a good job. They've got a quarterback that's figuring things out. And now there's a lot of optimism in Foxborough. And it's kind of an inspiration, I would say, to where the Saints are like, you just got to get two spots right. And the Patriots had $150 million in cap space, which the Saints certainly don't have, but could work in that direction if you make sound decisions here in the short term. Things will start to free up as contracts come off the book. And the Patriots have turned it around, and they're now looking like a team that very well could be a playoff team. So that's encouraging from a Saints perspective. In the one sense, you're like, oh, that's the team that figured it out. It's discouraging in the fact that, well, this is a better team than you thought coming to the Dome here in week 6. To me, as we talked about yesterday, this is a Patriots team that has been a little bit vulnerable to the pass. And the Saints are not good throwing the football. They're bottom 5 in the NFL in passing efficiency and offense. And so you don't figure that the Saints are going to take a lot of advantage of that, but the best way they can do it is to create numbers advantages there, and you create numbers advantages in the passing game when you commit to running the ball and you force defenses to try to take that away. Now, New England's good at that, but I expect the Saints to run the football early and often in this game. I don't know how much of that's Taysom Hill, and truthfully, I don't know how much of it is Alvin Kamara, because Alvin Kamara was limited in practice on Wednesday. He's got a bit of an ankle injury. Maybe he's not ready for 18 carries in this game. And that means Kendre Miller may get as extensive a workload as he's gotten in his young career. And I'm excited about that. Kendre Miller, I saw a statistic on the internet today, is tops in the NFL in forced missed tackles as far as percentage goes. He doesn't have enough carries to be there as far as the entire league goes, but if you do it on a per carry basis, Kendre Miller is making some guys miss. He's showing some burst. He's lowering his shoulders. He's doing a nice job in the ground game and with his touches in the passing game. And I think you're going to see a pretty hefty dose to Kendre Miller in this game. And hopefully the Saints can kind of prod at that Mike Vrabel defense and they can create some numbers advantages in the passing game. And then you can see a step forward again from Spencer Rattler throwing the football. It could be tough sledding for this Saints offense if that ground game doesn't get going. That's what you have to hope for. When you flip sides of the ball, you do get Chase Young back in this game. I don't know how much of Chase Young you get in this game, but he's back. And hopefully he can give you some juice. Cam Jordan and Carl Granderson have done a nice job, but Chase Young is the most physically gifted player on that entire defense. So to have him to be able to affect Drake May, I think is a big deal in this game. You've got to affect Drake May. You can't just let him sit there and start to go to work. He's starting to find a rhythm. He looks better than he has at any point in his year and a half. And if you get that guy comfortable, it's going to be a tough day. But you saw if you can get a young quarterback, kind of speed him up a little bit, which they did with Jackson Dart, who's younger than Drake May last week, mistakes can come. You're at home, got an opportunistic defense. That turnovers to me are the key for New Orleans in this game, because New Orleans 1-53 is not as good as New England. But you erase that and negate that if you can create a couple short fields, maybe get a red zone turnover here or there. I'm not asking for 5 again. I'm not asking for 4 consecutive series. I'm asking for 2. Create 2. Without that, I think it's a tough day. With that, I think you give yourself absolutely a chance in this game. I don't mean to talk New England up like they're some juggernaut, but they're better than I thought they were going to be. And so for New Orleans to win this game, I think it's the ground game leading to the air attack, and then defensively, it's getting a turnover here or there. I think the energy in the dome is going to be pretty good. We talked about that last week. You just needed to get that first win. And now, that Giants win looks a little better after what they did on Thursday Night Football against Philly. So you got a little bit of good vibes, you got a little bit of good energy. Spencer Rattler's got the monkey off his back of hey, you've never won a start. Kellen Moore's got his first win. You're at home. I get the sense that the Saints come out and play well in the first half of this game. The second half is where I have my doubts, and I think that's where the better 1-53 starts to impose its will, starts to assert itself, and probably takes over somewhere late in the third quarter into the fourth quarter. I do have the Patriots winning this game. I've got it 28-17, New England. I think this is a game the Saints might even lead early. I think this game goes to the half. It's a one-score game here or there. I think the Patriots get it done late in the game. But it's a great barometer for New Orleans. I talked about this with the game against Arizona to start, because I think that New England is probably just above league average. This is not Buffalo. This is not, to me, a team at the top of the NFL. This is a team somewhere in the middle. Where do you stack up? You stacked up pretty well with Arizona on your home field. I think Seattle is right there in the middle of the league, and you didn't stack up with them on the road. This is at home. Good barometer. If you're in this game late, I think that's an encouraging thing. You win this game, that's great. You get punked, you start to think about, well, they did win that game, but they got 5 turnovers, and that's not a sustainable way to win football games. I think it's probably somewhere in the middle of that. I think that the Saints lose this game by 11 points, 2 scores, but hopefully they are competitive. We'll certainly be talking about it coming up on Monday's show. All right, you're looking for Saints content. You can always find it, Hunt on Saints, wherever you find your podcast, certainly on YouTube as well. Subscribe to the channel. We certainly appreciate it if you do that. Makes our life a lot better, gets our content in front of as many people as we possibly can. So Hunt on Saints. Also got a full LSU channel, Hunt on LSU, all the time. Started to sprinkle in some other sports. There will be fall baseball segments to come, so you can check that out at Hunt on Saints. If you're LSU focused, you can do that, Hunt on Saints. Saints focused, Hunt on Saints. And always LouisianaSports.net for free. Ross Jackson's all over it. Got injury report up there each and every afternoon late in the week. We'll have that coming up later on this Football Friday. Mention our Friday show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. You're looking for a po' boy? That sound good to you on this Friday? Getting off work, trying to eat something real tasty? Cork's has a phenomenal fried shrimp po' boy. It is overstuffed, it is fully dressed, and it is an A+. That fried shrimp is so flavorful. The recipe brought to you right here in the seafood capital of the world, South Louisiana. So if you're looking for a po' boy, stop on by. Check out the menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. A fast-moving and busy hour number one. Opened talking about this LSU and South Carolina game and just how much I like this matchup for LSU. I love it from a defensive perspective. I think LSU really matches up well. So I gave that thought at the top of the show. As I mentioned, you can find that at Hunt on LSU. Preston Guy was with us talking a little bit more LSU football. And then we got you ready for the NFL slate to come on Sunday, as we do every single week on our Football Friday. So check that out wherever you find your podcast on demand. At Hunt Palmer Show is where that is all archived. Hour two will be fast moving as well. We're going to talk LSU and South Carolina. We're going to talk about the SEC and my picks against the spread. That'll lead us off in the hour. Got to play a little bit of take it or leave it. And of course, my final pick for LSU against the Gamecocks. That'll come to you at the end of the show. So we're going to pause for national headlines and Sports Center. We're going to come back fired up for one final hour this week. It's the Hunt Palmer Show. Don't go anywhere. Hope your Friday's going well.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Talking with one of our sales staff earlier today at Football Friday at the Cooks, said he was headed over to Swing Easy Golf Club this afternoon. He's got a big tournament coming up on Monday, so wanted to go over and hit some golf balls. It's a perfect place to do it. Still a little bit warm out there. That's not what you're looking for. Play golf inside. When it rains, play golf inside on one of their 3 incredible simulators. You can work on your game on the driving range feature, or you can just have some fun. Tee it up at Pebble Beach, tee it up at Cypress Point, tee it up at Bethpage Black or TPC Sawgrass. All those loaded up on the simulator. It's a ton of fun. Bring your friends. They got beer, they got seltzers, they got wine. Have some fun over at Swing Easy Golf Club. They are at Segan and Perkins, right there in that shopping mall. Just pull up. It's right there on the right. You just can't miss it. Great place for golfers of any skill level, looking to socialize, looking to work on your game. You can do it at Swing Easy Golf Club. They are online at swingeasygcbr.com. That's swingeasygcbr.com.